Hi, Lori.
Hello, lovely. How are you?
I am grateful, so grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you. You're awesome.
You too.
You know what? We have the most spectacular picture of us that is on the Crystal Retreat web page. I don't know if it's probably not live right now because I don't have one scheduled yet, although I am planning that. But you are on in there with me under that waterfall. Remember that? And you're like a
Mhm.
goddess. You are such a goddess. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you found out about me, how you started working with me, and how it's helped you.
Yeah, I actually met you or heard you speak for the first time back in like 2018, 2019 at a New Life Expo in the Bay Area where I live. And for anybody who doesn't know what the New Life Expo is, I kind of describe it like a spiritual buffet. Like it's just there's all these booths and speakers, and it's all about consciousness and spiritual speakers. And I was in this place in my life in my spiritual journey where I was really searching and yearning for like how I know I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience, but like how do I live that out? How do I like how do I embody that and live from a place of love and light with this world that we're in? And I was, Lori, you kind of mentioned the other day how you were in a season of your life going to people and kind of being like, will you be my friend? Will you be my friend? I was kind of going through that around truth. And I really showed up to that expo going like, do you know the truth? Do you know the truth? I'm looking for the truth. And I signed up to go to this talk, and there was a headliner there that I was really intrigued to learn from. And Lori happened to be one of the speakers on this panel. And even though I went there for this headliner, as soon as Lori spoke, it was like there was just so much certainty of her speaking the truth. Like there was just an awareness in my body and in my field of like my soul recognized the message of truth in her. And she was saying all these things that I had never heard before, like, 4D, 5D. I was like, what? I don't know these terms. But even though I didn't know them, it was like there was this remembrance within me that I was experiencing that it was like, I'm remembering things within me about truth that she's saying. And so that led me to kind of study with her more and watch her videos when I got home, and then signed up for the crystal retreat and got to experience you in your energy physically, and just learned so much from you. You
And
know,
you did our back before I started using this doing the sacred mentorship, which you started way back when it was the Ascension Support Group,
mhm,
right? Because that's really what the sacred mentorship has evolved
mhm.
into, right? It's just grown, it's evolved. But tell people about your experience with that and how that helped you and served you.
Well, looking back, I really feel like from like my spiritual path, like met you at such a critical time because I'm a nurse and I was working in the front lines during COVID. And I really believe that there is no way that I would have gone through that chaos and craziness with such ease and peace within myself. And I just knew, like, I knew what was true and I knew what was not true. I knew that I was safe. I knew that I was protected. I knew I didn't need the vaccine. I knew that and I never had that before. And I really know that I would never have been able to go through that experience with such clarity and peace within myself had I not had just met you the few years prior and been doing the DNA activations and doing
Yeah.
all the work with you.
I was
Mhm.
just going to ask you if you felt like that because that I think that's a direct result of getting those DNA activations, right?
Oh,
That is totally what I
totally.
love that you just shared
Mhm.
that. That's awesome. And so other than that, just because that's a huge thing right there that you went through that, but like how is your life unfolding since you've been, because I love the way you say you were looking for truth. Because to me, that's one thing I really realized. I mean, to be quite candid, to be very candid, part of why I got really I started to realize that I did not belong anymore in the love and light movement was I started to realize ways that people were not looking for truth. They
Mhm.
just wanted to feel good. And it's fine to feel good, but that doesn't, and that if that's what they're there for, that's fine. There's no wrongness to it, but it doesn't really allow, you can get stuck in that feel good bubble. And then you wonder why you end up on your deathbed and you're like, yeah, I felt good. I had fun. I didn't really accomplish that much. Like, what did I do with the gift of my life? So because part of evolution is moving towards truth, real truth. That is an important aspect. And I don't mean to like take hog your time up here, but like I've taken the pendulum out. I've told this story a few times now where I was just showing people like, hey, you can use this pendulum just to navigate, just to discern truth, fact from fiction. It's such an easy tool you can use. And people in those some of those communities got mad at me
Mm.
just because I was saying yeah, maybe this isn't like person isn't in their integrity. Like just use this like to find out is this person in their integrity or is this absolute truth, this statement in this ad or whatever. People don't always want truth. So I love that you shared that. And I mean, how has this helped your life is what I really want you to share. How has this served you?
Oh my goodness. It's been priceless. I think that the biggest thing that it's helped me is I think I was definitely in the love and light community for a long time because I didn't know there was anything different. And I experienced a lot of spiritual bypassing within myself. It was almost like there was no talk about unconsciousness. It was just like, let's just be in love and light. And when I came into your work, the biggest thing that shifted for me was I started to identify what I was unconscious of. And
Mm.
it was through that acknowledgement and being able to kind of like disentangle, so to speak, like what you talked about of like the densities. And I just didn't even know what densities what I was in. And so being able to first and foremost understand where I was unconscious and be able to see it and then, you know, learn through the things that you teach us around accessing higher realms and higher dimensions and realizing that we have a choice here. Like there is so much more to us. Like we are multidimensional and there's all these realms that we have available to us. And so that has been just pricelessly, life changing. And I still, I still have your Lori isms like that continue to reign through my mind and uh,
I don't even
one.
know what those are. That's so
Well,
fun.
I'll tell you one. It's so funny. I remember this on the crystal retreat. You said you were teaching, you were saying something. You're like, how does it get better than this? Like, how does it get better than this? And you were teaching us about like how asking that is such an expansive
Oh.
question. And literally from then, I think I ask that myself every day. Like,
Mm.
how does it get more loving than this? How does it get more joyful than this? How does my day get better and brighter? And just like that little Loriism that you have,
Mm. We have
it's
a whole section, there's a whole teaching in the core teachings about how to work with questions
mm,
and how when you work with the intelligence of the universe and you're asking questions and I see all the time like I'll never forget this one example of this woman that she was into consciousness. I didn't know her for long, but she had all these challenges in her life because she was in so much resistance to conspiracy, conspiracy type of things. And she was always fighting with, the wrongness of the system. And she couldn't understand why all these horrible things were happening to her. Like she got pulled over by cops and she'd get ticketed and then have these, um, literally brutality issues with cops. And I was like, yeah, you're fighting with them in the non-physical, so it's showing up in your physical. And she's like, well, how do I get out of it? And I'm like, well, that's a good question to ask. So you just started asking that one question alone, like, how do I get out of this situation in a way that's good and right? And it starts resolving for her. Then she started like calling me all the time. Like, this is someone who's out there famous started calling me all the time. So anyway, it's just amazing. I love that you brought that up. I made me think of that. So I'm so glad. I really have always so loved and enjoyed you. And I just love having you around. And I'm so glad that like learning these kinds of tools and these kinds of practices is helping your life. Is there anything else you want to share about how like working with the tools that you've learned and consciousness has helped you and made your life better?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that working with Lori, you'll really be with truth. And I think that there's nothing more important than that. Um, and like what I love about working with you, Lori, too, is you're just so real and authentic, which can be rare in these kind of spiritual circles. And I've been with a lot of different spiritual teachers, and I can confidently say that, that Lori is speaks the truth, she lives the truth, and you share your struggles, you share your humanness, you're real and genuine and authentic, and
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, every part of your life will change and for the better by
Mm.
working with Lori.
Thanks for
Mhm.
saying that. Like I get it. There's a lot of people who go into the spiritual arenas and they want someone who's going to represent as like a guru. But if they're either going to wear like a white robe and they're going to say Om and Ah and they're going to say love all the time. But if you talk to those people, they're not really teaching you how to navigate consciousness. Even if you listen to a guru, and I'm not discrediting these people, I'm just showing you that I'm offering something different. I'm not discrediting any of them. What I'm saying is if you want to like bring up a YouTube video on, any kind of guru, they're usually saying things like forgive,
Mhm.
awesome. They're usually saying things like be kind. Those are lessons of 3D. So, and I'm not saying I have every truth. I've overturned a lot of my own truths. Like I don't even believe in spiritual contracts anymore. Like I know that they existed at certain dimensions of bandwidth, but beyond here, that it's all bullshit. Like contracts are bullshit. And I used to teach about that stuff. So my point is like truths can still be overturned. And as you keep growing and taking on real truth, old things that you believed were true aren't even true, right? Like
Mhm.
we're all growing. But my point is if you want to learn from a 3D person, there's no problem with that. You can still learn things like forgiveness and stuff like that. There's no wrongness to that. But if you really want to take it to a whole new level, I do think that's what I'm offering. It's a whole new level. So well, I love you so much, Malia. Is there
Thanks
anything
so
you would
much.
tell anybody if they were considering joining the sacred mentorship or if they were considering working with me, joining our group?
I would just say do it. It's an investment that is priceless, and you'll get back more than what you give, because Lori is the most generous, the
Mm,
most, just she just gives everything, and she is growing alongside you, and she will help you up level. So,
mm.
yeah.
Thank you, Malia. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
showing up.
Lori.
I will tell you, one of the greatest gifts anyone from my community can give me back is just rave review. So I'm so grateful to you. It like makes my heart sing to see people like really growing and benefiting and consciously acknowledging it. It's just that's like angels often say they work for gratitude.
Mm,
And I think not that I'm saying I'm an angel, I'm just saying I get that. It's like it's not even just the gratitude, it's just the recognition that someone else is benefiting, that I have a front row seat to
mhm.
someone else's life changing and transforming. And I had a role to play in contributing in a positive way. That's just my joy. So thank you so much, Malia. So
Thank you,
grateful for
Lori.
you.
Love you.
Yeah. Love you too.